welcome back to Vulcan Arena. Today we're going to be seeing Mystical versus Jagdsauce in Game 2 of this best of 3. This map is Orsha North, and on the Soviet side, Mystical is going to be playing with the 3rd US Armored, and on the Axis side, Jagdsauce is going to be playing with the 20th Panzer. So this is a pretty interesting matchup. The 20th Panzer relies very heavily on Panzer IVs. So we're going to have to see if Jagdsauce can make that work in the early game, because moving throughout the game, the Shermans will have the advantage, and they'll have the advantage from the start, honestly. The Panzer IV Gs have very limited rotation on their turrets. They've got really poor traverse speed. So that's going to be interesting to look out for. And Jagdsauce, if he wants to rely on the Panzer IVHs, it's going to have less availability of them, and he's going to basically have to trade 1 for 1 in hopes that in the early game his economy can carry him through. And it's going to be tough, that's for sure. Either way, let's just speed up the deployment so we can see what ends up going down. The Panzer IVs are definitely what matter here more than anything else. You do of course have the Beuter Stalin, which is going to be placed here by Jagdsauce. So we do see that coming down. That's going to be accompanied by 2 Panzer IIILs, the Panzer IIIN and the Panzer IIIM. Again, in the early game you do get access to quite a lot of the Panzer IIIs, so he's going to be trying to rely on those instead because of the APCR, the 150mm of penetration there. It's got a couple Panzergrens, Panzergrenführer in the mid, just going to be some Osttruppen there as well. We see a Pak 40 going up onto the ridge, assisted by the 251-2 Mortar half-track. You got the BMW R75. Not often you see motorcycle recon, but they do come with radios, so that would be probably the reason for doing so. And then on the top side we see the Panzervernichtungs and the Osttruppen there as well. Over on the side of Mystical we have the Engineers. There's going to be a couple units of armoured rifles as well, all in half-tracks. These are the N3 half-tracks, they are indeed. All of them are, so no 50 cows, just 30 cows. And then following up that, we have 2 M4A1s and a command M4A1 for the top side. Big disparity of forces up here between Mystical and Jagdsauce. We'll have to see if Mystical realises and exploits that area. Meanwhile, Mystical has done the same on this ridge, brought up an M5 gun assisted by an M8 Scott and some recon, so pretty much the same setup on the hills from both players, with loose infantry in the centre from Jagdsauce giving him a brief advantage, especially onto this point. That's the flag that he's capping there. This goes back to 12 to 12, actually 13 to 11, as the half-tracks come in hot on this top side and take that flag. On the bottom side, another 2 M4A1s and the M4A1 command from Mystical, and we only see 1 unit of infantry here, so a little bit less of a concerted effort, but still a significant amount of armour that can potentially blunt the push from Jagdsauce. But I am very worried for Jagdsauce up on this top side. The Engineers just driving on through. Even if the Osttruppen reveal themselves, the Engineers can unload and just lob a grenade onto the Osttruppen there, and that will make things very difficult indeed. We see the engagement occurring on the bottom side. Crew kill already onto one of the M4A1s. That's going to be a transmission damage, gun jam onto the command M4A1. P47D coming in with a rocket strike. Oh, nice kill actually onto the Panzer III, but the M4A1 does go down. The command M4A1's kind of in a bit of an awkward position. Does get engine destroyed by the critical from the Panzer IIIL. And that's likely gone down as well now. So 2 M4s lost on the bottom side. If you can keep this other M4A1 safe now, though, for the time being, he's not actually in a terrible position. He did manage to kill off one of the Panzer IIIs. But I reckon Mystical could probably hold on. If he gets the M5 gun over to this side, can definitely find some side shots if these units attempt to come up this hill. But on this top side, the M4A1s have tried to push forward. It looks like the Panzervernichtungs went for the shot onto the M4A1, found the loader wound. The Engineers cleaned out the Osttruppen, and that's a lot of flags lost on this top side. Now the engagement coming in at range now for the Panzer 3Ls. They're going to have to use their APCR to get some significant penetrating shots onto the M4A1s. Really strong position here from Mystical Walrus. The armoured rifles, they are being pushed onto. However, if they can stay hidden, then you might be able to find a bazooka kill onto one of these units, which would be quite nice. But Jagdsauce probably not going to let that happen. Move the Panzergrens in first to find the infantry that would be holding this position. I really want this M5 gun to come over though, because this is the perfect opportunity to find side shots from hill to hill. You can see this Boy to Stalin as it basically faces towards infantry or tanks, sorry, coming in from this direction. He will be able to find side shots from that place, but doesn't look like he's going for that setup just yet. Pak 40 has been brought in to accompany the Panzer 3s, and that is going to force back the M4A1 for now. Was there any other M4A1s lost? Just a couple half-tracks here. Was that the only M4A1? Yeah, I think he hasn't even brought in any more. So this is just two M4A1s, the Command M4A1, and this one's just tanking all the shots from the Panzer 3Ls. They've used up all the APCR to no avail, and the Pak 40 not quite in position yet. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, armoured rifles do reveal themselves by firing at the Panzergrens. So Jagdsauce able to just sit pretty up on this hill, clean those out nice and easy. And when he does so, that's actually going to open up a massive salient on the bottom side of the map here. And might even be able to put some pressure onto the next flag. M4A1s coming down off the hill. They're going to be in a bit of a precarious position if the Boy Stalin decides to sit up on here, but not going to be doing so. Just going to have the Panzer 3s up on the hill. The Pak 40 here, can that find any decent shots onto these M4s? It currently bounced off the front of the Command M4A1. Missed its next shot. Going to have plenty of time on target before it gets revealed. There's not much recon here. So Jagdsauce might be able to snipe these tanks, although that Pak 40 just keeps missing. Because this M4A1 was actually falling back, it tried to resume its last command, and the Panzer 3s now just continuing to fire at it. It will continue to bounce because the actual AP shells only have 100mm penetration, so at this sort of range, the Panzer 3s have a very limited chance to penetrate, but do manage to do so with that spalling hit. It does enough damage to destroy the tank. Panzervernichtungs do manage to get on top of the M4A1, and that is going to give this point over to Jagdsauce. So Jagdsauce controlling the bottom with his concentrated push, and Mystical currently holding the top side. Although Jagdsauce is going to be pushing another flag here, and that's going to make things actually in Jagdsauce's favour. And he's even managed to push the flag in the centre due to there being a lack of infantry here from Mystical. But I guess Mystical can just fix that quite quickly. We see P-47D coming in. He spotted the location of the 251 half-track. Going to be going for the snipe. Let's see if he can find the kill. Going to be a pretty important kill if he can. He does. He manages to get it. Very nice. Removes a lot of the mortar support that would otherwise be able to help deal with these engagements. The engineers running through there with their M1 Garands, getting the job done for sure. Potentially going to find the Pak 40 at some point as well. Ostrupen have been brought in to try and reinforce this point, but Mystical equaling things out with that little push there. Going to have some engineers hopefully push through in the center. That's actually going to give him maybe 2 flags. So nice probing again from Mystical. In the last game we saw Mystical pushing in different places to try and find some ground for free. And in this case he's actually going to be rewarded. So nice job with these engineers moving forwards, capturing 2 more flags. Whilst Jagdsauce just kind of hangs out on this bottom side. He's got the Panzer 3 ends here. I do like the positioning of these Panzer 3 ends because they're kind of good for killing any infantry that come up onto this area. But the best way to just defend here is probably just put some recon into the edge of these trees and then move the rest of your units upwards. So that you have time to react if there is stuff coming over, but don't end up wasting all of this stuff, which is kind of just sitting here. But he does have bigger things to worry about, especially with the Ostrupen and Panzergrens here being engaged by the engineers. But he's going to have to be careful if he wants to push those out, because these attack move commands, they might work, but if the Panzergrens end up engaging at the 100 meter range, then he's going to be in trouble. But this half-track push so far has been super successful. It's managed to capture this flag, and this flag, which is 14 to 10 now. The Osttroppen just about capturing back this flag, but those Panzergrens are going to be under a lot of fire, a lot of pressure here. Maybe the mortar half-track can help pin these down, although looks like the half-track exploding there got the majority of the job done. But yeah, still, this engineer is going to be sitting in the right place to keep those 2 points. Again, not any of these units moving for the time being. This M5 gun has been moved into the right position, which is really nice. Putting it on efficient shot would be perfect, and then basically that will allow it to kill any tanks that pop out now from that location. So I think Mystical's got this sort of covered for the time being with the M4A1s in position here. It would be nice to see them spread out a little bit more, but that's fine. Command M4A1 is going to go down on the top side. Armoured Rifles just holding position there as Mystical comes into the centre, trying to take care of the Pack 40. Unfortunately didn't manage to do so previously. The Panzergrens looks like they did move in here and get killed by the engineers. But these units are being cleaned up now. You got a Pack 184 coming in, going to clean up the half-tracks. Panzergrens can clean up the engineers from range. Again, don't want a 100 meter range engagement though, otherwise the Panzergrens will likely lose. So I've got to be very careful with those infantry engagements for sure. We now see a commandant coming in on the bottom side. Early investment into the commander. I assume what Jagdsauce is going to try and do here is make his boy to Stalin 2-star veterancy so that he can clean out these M4A1s nice and easy. But the M4A1s, they also have the leader here, which is providing the extra veterancy, and you do have the commander nearby, so it's providing 2-star. Engineers trying to back off here. Panzerguns do get pinned down. These armoured rifles, they're going to find the Osttroppen. Wonder if I guess the armoured rifles probably win this engagement at closer ranges because of the M1 Garands and the carbines. And also the fact that the Osttroppen are disheartened, but that's going to be a relatively close engagement there, because the MGs now can be used at close range in Steel Division 2, as opposed to Steel Division Normally 44, where you could not. P-47 coming in with the rocket strike, that's going to get the job done, and another point goes in favour of Mystical. The Me-109G2 brought into the skies just to cover the G2R1 that's going to be looking for the bombing strike onto the M4A1s. I would have liked to have seen that bombing strike land onto an infantry squad, to be honest, because that's more of a guaranteed kill, whereas the M4A1s, you do panic them a little bit, but not a lot with a bomb like that. M4A1 and the M8 Scott going to have free shots onto the 45mm. The Scott's actually in a pretty nice position here to engage the 45mm. On the bottom side, Ju-87, is this going to be a triple kill? There's no AA here to stop this. We're going to have to see a fighter come out if Mystical wants to stop this. The P-47 could probably one gun run the Ju-87 to death, but here we go. This is going to be a triple kill. It looks like it. Oh, that is disgusting. That is disgusting. The Bofors has been brought onto the field, but not in time to stop the Ju-87 D5 from finding those kills. Jagdsauce has to move forwards now, surely. Very, very nice triple kill there from the plane. A little bit surprised of the positioning. I guess Jagdsauce probably wants to cut off the reinforcements so that he can then have pressure moving upwards. But honestly, the flags aren't here, they are here. So taking the opportunity to take this hill before he brings in more reinforcements is very important. So you can see the M10s are already on the way, so you have no real chance of actually stopping those reinforcements coming in. So yeah, maybe Jagdsauce didn't believe that he would actually manage to get that strike to work, but M5 gun looking for the kill now onto the Boyja Stalin is actually going to have relatively good penetration, I think. Maybe, actually, maybe not. It'd be about like 10%, I guess. Front armor. Anyway, mortar fire comes in there. Pins down the M5 gun. P47 manages to take out the infantry. Was that a nice double strike there from the P47? That's very nicely done there. Good micro from Mystical. Puts a few rockets onto one of the infantry and uses the rest on the Boy Stalin to force that back for the time being. Panzer 3 ends pushing up. Do manage to take out the half-track that was carrying the armoured leader. The M1 gun, is it going to get strafed to death by the ME-109 G2? Not quite. Does manage to get into cover. Boy Stalin heading forwards again. ME-109 G2 R1 looking for the bombing strike onto the M4A1s again. I don't think that's a very good use of these 250 kilogram bombs. The 250 kilogram bombs are really good for just like deleting infantry squads. We are going to see a close range engagement here though. The M4A1 cleanly kills one of the Panzer 3s, whilst the Panzer 3L responds with a couple of criticals. Do manage to get the kill with a second shot. That M4A1, is it going to do a runner or is he going to stand his ground? Looks like the Panzer 3 is going to get the first shot regardless, unless the M4A1 can get out of there. Currently 15-9 for Mystical. He's managing to control this top side very well. Well, that Ju-87D5, it looks like it lost target onto the M4A1. Need to use those fire position, otherwise you do get caught out. Panzervernichtungen have found the armoured leader, should be able to get the job done there. We do see, however, the M10 destroyers. They are currently cleaning up the Panzer 3 ends. Now, the Panzer 3 ends with those AP shells can potentially get some penetration onto the M10s, but it's the Boy Stalin that's going to do all the work here. I think Jagdsauce just going to make sure that that doesn't run out of ammunition if he manages to keep using it effectively. We do see two flak 37 mils coming in on this bottom side to assist any future airstrikes. Looks like the Ju-87 did manage to get the cluster munitions onto the M4A1 in the end. And up on this hill, well, the M4A1 that tried to do a run it did get taken out by the Panzer 3s. We see a half-track going down there, but the M5 gun in the distance is going to put a lot of pressure onto the Panzer 3s. They're going to have to fall back or die. The Boy Stalin still sitting on the edge of that hill, cleaning up the M10s nicely. P47 coming in with a rocket strike onto the Panzer 3. Does not manage to find the kill there. You see now two M4A176s coming in from Mystical. So he's got to find a way to basically shut down the Boy Stalin. Once he does do so, then things get a lot easier for Mystical as the game goes on, because Jagdsauce forced to go into the whole Panzer 4 play, whilst Mystical can just continue to bring like M4A176s, just infinite value. Now the M5 gun does manage to get the engine damage, I believe, onto the Boy Stalin. Does that still have line of sight? It does, and manages to find the side shot. That's the kill he was looking for. The Panzer 3 also went down there, and, well, there goes another Panzer 3. Nicely done. The 1 health AT guns, they're back in force. They're back in force. And, yeah, it's still a scary, scary thing. Nice kill on the P47, the Jagdsauce Air Force coming into play there. 3 ME-109 G2s at 2-star veterancy. Very scary indeed. Now the Ju-87 going all the way for the spawn. This is actually a very scary place for the Ju-87 to be, because it could get ambushed very quickly by a P47. Very quickly indeed. Jagdsauce still making a play for this reinforcement point. I think he's just getting too distracted with this area. Especially with like these units going down. Yeah, you can try and kill the M10 right now, but there's so much ground that can be taken in the middle right now. The M10's gone. Is that going to actually cap the spawn? Okay, so he's managed to lock out that spawn, which is okay. But this spawn's actually still very close, so it's not a massive difference. And also, this Panzer Grenadier is on his own. But nice kill onto that half-track. Very nice indeed. Yeah, so this M10's going to come out up here because it can't spawn on the bottom side. The double flak 43 fails to kill the P47. Sorry. And Yeah, we see some Panzer T-34-42s now coming onto the field. They're going to be getting involved. Oh, and the Ju-87D5. Can this one find a double kill onto the M4A 176s, I wonder? That would be quite something indeed. So yeah, one single Panzergren. Look at this absolute champion. Just running through with his MP40 like, yeah, I'll hold back the entirety of the US Army, don't worry about it. A nice Ju-87's change target's going to go for the M4A1 clean kill there. Very nice indeed. These Ju-87s definitely working out well, that's for sure. Bofors not in range. And what happened to this Bofors? I guess it got hit by artillery? Or maybe it got strafed to death. Either way, Ostrupen engaging engineers. A lot of ground to be made in the centre, like I mentioned. The T-34s are getting in position to potentially push here. He's managed to take full control back of this hill. So we're looking at potentially a lot of ground to be gained. That's 4 points. That would push it 14 to 10 in favour of Jagdsauce instead. The Jumbo is going to be hard to get rid of though. This is probably the Jagdsauce's biggest nightmare in this matchup, the Jumbo. Because the Jumbo can pretty much deal with every single tank that Jagdsauce has except the Boyder Stalin, and the Boyder Stalin's now dead. So this is very, very difficult to get rid of, unless you can maybe sideshot it with a Panzer IV. P-47's also finding effective shots, although this time round with the 2-star Pak-43. P-47 goes down, and another nice kill there from the Me-109G2s, takes down the other P-47, so fantastic job. M10 has come down to this bottom side. Looks like the Me-109G2 went down though, trying to find that strafing run. The Bofors hitting that very hard. Jagdsauce going to have to get that out of there, gets a bit greedy after those air engagements. We do see a long-range engagement between the two M4A176s and the T-34-42s. The M4A1s definitely have a big advantage in this engagement, and thanks no less to the 3-star veterancy provided by the commander. The Jumbo here, still preventing these Panzer IIIs from showing their face, but here comes the Ju-87 once again. These strikes are absolutely disgusting, and I guess this is going to be effective as well. Mystical's getting punished in these games for not spreading out his tanks. And, well, there goes another 2 of them. That is disgusting. Jagdsauce. You're going to have to take a shower after this one. Blimey. Ju-87 for, I guess, the 4th time finds kills onto the tanks. And Mystical's definitely going to start investing in more AA. This Bofors got unloaded early, so it's kind of like in an awkward position because it had to like attack move all the way forwards. Whereas this Bofors, I guess, is going to get quite a lot further forwards. But this Jumbo is still very vulnerable on the top side, so Ju-87 again could come in and just take out that. The Flak 43 is also doing work onto these half tracks. This is nasty, but Mystical still holding the ground. He's got 1 armoured rifle here, 1 engineers here, and they're just holding these positions, and that's currently all he needs to do. 13 to 11. The 3rd Armoured has more longevity than the 20th Panzer because of the deployment type for 1, and also just the division itself. So balanced deployment type has the extra 60 points per minute in Phase C, which wasn't something that Jagdsauce failed to deal with in the last game, but in this game in particular, the 3rd Armoured's like a very, very strong division. So I feel like Mystical's just getting away with losing a lot of units because the 3rd Armoured is pretty strong. This P-47 though, likely to go down. Flak 43 is still very strong on its own, just the 1 there, since the other one is pinned down currently. Is the last few shots going to get the kill? Oh, that was close. Very close one. Oh, there goes another tank. That was an M10, goes down to the Ju-87. I'm just very surprised Jagdsauce hasn't focused on killing this Jumbo. The Jumbo is literally the worst nightmare for the 20th Panzer, so leaving that alive basically prevents any movement from Panzer 3s and Panzer 4s. And if Mystical starts to bring in more Jumbos, then I think Jagdsauce is just done at that point. So we'll have to wait and see how long it takes Mystical to bring out more of those Jumbos, because I think they are the key to really winning this matchup between the 20th Panzer and the 3rd Armoured. Back 40, can it find the kill onto the M4A1? Should have a relatively clean shot there. 2 Sturm Pioneers moving up on this top side. One of them is going to get taken out by the bazooka before it even unloads. That is very, very nasty. And I believe the Sturm Pioneer here probably going to get shot to death before it can even get in range with its flamethrowers. It is indeed, and well, they're gone. That's quite an expensive infantry loss there for Jagdsauce. So Jagdsauce, he's brought it back to 12 to 12. He has managed to put some pressure onto this flag in the centre, which is the main reason for that. And, well, a couple of Panzer 4Gs coming in onto the bottom. Again, I don't think that like the focus on the bottom is the best idea anymore. These Panzer guns have been surrounded, so they're no longer decapping the spawn. Putting pressure onto the center is probably the best idea, especially with the successful bombing strikes, like this one in particular onto the double M4A176 certainly opened things up a lot. So identifying those kills is very important, but managing to take care of the engineers here and finding the surrender is going to open up a nice salient, which might actually capture this flag briefly. And potentially that will give Jagdsauce the green light to push forwards, but the M4A176 timing here is pretty nice. There is the shots coming in from the 45mm, but there goes one of the T-34s. These M4A1s actually aim very, very quickly indeed, and they don't rely on APCR, so they have very good damage on their main guns. And so the T-34 goes down almost immediately, both of them are dead. And these Panzer 4Hs, they're going to have to be careful as well. If they reveal themselves, or the M4A1s move forwards and show themselves to the Panzer 4s, Panzer 4s are likely going to lose out in that engagement. But Ju-87D5 coming in again, probably not going to find the strike this time around due to the double Bofors up on the high ground. So let's see. Ju-87. It is coming in low, so the Bofors might not be able to find line of sight. No, they've got it. No chance this time around. Bofors in position. And the Ju-87 goes down, which is really, really bad for Jagdsauce because he was relying on those a lot to find the kills onto this armor. And his armor is otherwise outmatched by most of the armor that Mystical can bring in at this point. The M4A176s and the Jumbos. This Ju-87 may be told to leave a little bit too late. It might also go down as well. And that will be crucial. Very, very important kills there from Mystical. That could definitely turn things around. His M4A1s will no longer have to be so careful in the open, with both of those being shot down. Panzer 4s both die. None of the M4A176s go down. Very strong position here for Mystical, especially since we are now into Phase C. Mystical sitting on the 170 income per minute as compared to the 110 income per minute from Jagdsauce. Panzer 4Gs pushing up on the bottom side. A couple more going to be joining the fray. I'm just very unsure of what Jagdsauce wants to do in this area with these Panzer 4s. Because the location of this, or like I guess the terrain, is very awkward. You have basically all of these units coming up onto the high ground. So you've got to kind of like push through this little valley here, and it's very difficult to make any ground from this point onwards. He was lucky to shut down the land spawn previously, but that wasn't. It's not really the objective of Steel Division 2. You want to try and take these objectives in the center again. Just not enough, I guess, probing here. I guess there was with the Panzer 3 or Panzer 4s and the T-34s. But the timing on the M4A176 was really nice here from Mystical, and he didn't get punished like it did before. Now we're going to be seeing the ME-109G2R1 used for bombing these engineers, which is a good use of the bomber for sure. Unfortunately, just a little bit too late. The Panzer gun's going to get surrendered. The bomb is going to land and potentially pin these, but didn't find a direct hit, so none of them actually get pinned entirely. And now with the triple push of those engineers into that compound, Jagdsauce is going to be forced to respond with a couple of pioneers of his own. Osttropen trying to engage the engineers in the open here with their MG34s, but the M4A176s with their 50 cals and HE shells are going to be able to pin these squads very quickly, especially the Osttropen with their disheartened trait, going to automatically fall back. This one is just going to be pinned and killed off. So that might lose Jagdsauce another point in the centre, pushing Mystical to 14 to 11. We see that the engineers are also pushing across the open up here. It's not often you see like these units that have HE grenades used at longer ranges like this, but the M1 Garands are really good at 500 meters. So that's what Mystical is managing to take advantage of here. P-47D comes in with the rocket strike onto the Panzer IVs. Forced back briefly by the Flak 43. The other one's dead now, so only one AA piece in position. ME-109s really want to get that kill. Getting a bit greedy though, they're going to be flying right over the Bofors as they retreat. That is not a nice thing for Jagdsauce. Best case, this one gets pinned and therefore doesn't get shot down, but that's going to be a P-47 coming up behind, taking one out. It's going to take out the second as well. Oh, not quite. That P-47 might pay for that overstay. It really does depend on its route of exit. Apologies for the camera work there, as I was trying to zoom in on that. It just keeps zooming past it for some reason. Either way, Flak 43 unfortunately not going to get that kill. Very, very close. Probably should have. But we see 15 to 9. With these engineers actually taking back this area on the bottom side. 16 to 8 now, actually, with engineers pushing up onto the hill. Mystical's really just finding holes in Jagdsauce's defense. This division definitely doesn't have as much staying power as Jagdsauce had previously in the last game, game 1. So he's definitely suffering from having to rely on things like the Panzer IV-Gs and potentially like Panzer IV-Hs. There's just like not really much coming in here, and the Panzer IV-Gs, like, they've got to go up against this. I mean, this is what the 170 points gives you, and plus the third armored, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 M4A176s, one of them being a command variant, and they're just going to be pushing through to the center. And that's going to give Jagdsauce a big old headache. We see a trade from the Pioneers onto the Engineers. Good kill for Jagdsauce, but not going to really change too much at the moment. These units probably going to end up trading as well. Same on the bottom side. M4A1, or M4A3, sorry, 75s now coming up. These are even worse for the Panzer IVs as well. They're not quite jumbos, but with the extra 10 front armor, they do make it more difficult to penetrate at maximum range versus the Panzer IVs. And since Jagdsauce is relying on the G variants, they want to look for the longer range engagements. And that's not going to fall in their favour against an M4A3 75mm. So yeah, just really nice hold across the board here from Mystical, probing in lots of different areas to find the flags. Unfortunately, Jagdsauce not really able to shut down the middle here. Just killing off the armoured rifles and engineers gives him back 2 points here. It would probably 50-50 out between these tanks and his forces. But it's very difficult to get rid of these. He could maybe try and blind fire some artillery, but hasn't had success in doing so far, so probably gave up on that and tried to go for different targets. Does manage to take back the flag on the bottom side for the time being, but that bombing strike coming in from the Mustang, I think that's the Mustang bomber there, that manages to kill off that infantry, so loses the point again. M4A3 going to be coming around the corner. Panzer IV-G, less aim time, does manage to get the one-shot kill though. Returned the one-shot kill. So yeah, traverse speed of the turret is 19 degrees per second as compared to the M4A375, which is 30 degrees per second, so The M4A3s tend to aim faster unless the Panzer IV-G is already facing the right direction. Can the Panzer IVs win? This is a pretty crucial engagement, actually. One of the Panzer IV-G is going to get forced back. This one doesn't actually have line of sight onto the second Panzer IV. Panzer IV now moving forwards. M4A3 still reloading. Panzer IV-Gs get the job done. Nice. Very nice indeed. Did not expect that. Panzer IV-Gs coming out on top. Pak 43 in the center here does have line of sight onto the M4A176s. Not really much point in waiting, since there is only 1 minute left on the clock. Lots of Panzer IV-Hs now coming in to engage the M4A176 in the open. Both of these M4A176s are taken out more or less because that one gun jammed, is not firing back, and the M4A176 here was crew killed. So those have been taken care of, but I think just the positioning throughout the game from Mystical has just allowed him to hold the position when, honestly, it was very, very scary. Like, the Ju-87s finding all of those multi-kills onto the tanks and stuff was... I'm surprised that Jagdsauce didn't win because of those, but I think due to the infantry placement of Mystical, he did manage to hold the position when he otherwise probably shouldn't have. But that's going to be a Mustang taken out. We're going to see a head-on between the P-47 and the MU-109 here. The MU-109 is weapon jammed now, so that's just going to have to get out of there and hope that the AA can save it, but never mind. Saved by the belt, 34 minutes and 35 seconds. Mystical Walrus comes out on top for the second game of this match between himself and Jagdsauce. So, yeah, Mystical winning with a negative kill death. Jagdsauce not being able to capitalize on the Ju-87s. Definitely got a bit greedy trying to push for the spawn. Got a bit greedy with the strikes for the Ju-87s, especially the second Ju-87 cluster to go down. Didn't need to be in the position that it was in. It probably could have been evac'd as soon as the first one got shot down, which probably would have saved it. Also, not killing the jumbo in the middle, I think cost him like 5 tanks, which is really bad. And the jumbos are the beast in this matchup that Jagdsauce has to deal with. The M4A1s can be killed and the M4A3s can be killed, but the jumbo cannot. So yeah, it's very difficult if Mystical relies on those. He didn't, thankfully for Jagdsauce. Otherwise, I feel like the game would have been over a lot quicker. Get a couple jumbos on the field from the start, accompanied by a Calliope, and you'd be laughing in this matchup for sure. Nice kill from the P-47D, did manage to get the Aufkläder Panzer III at the start, that was nice. The Bofors there finding 2 Ju-87D5s and 2 MU-109 G2s. Good kills indeed. Yeah, check out this jumbo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tanks, yeah. Lost 5 tanks to that jumbo, when that was an easy cluster munition strike in the center there. It was sat there for so long. This M4A176, that did very well. 2 T-34-42s, claimed all those kills in the center. Wow. That was the nicely timed M4A1s. After the first 2 died, he brought in 3 more, Mystical, and managed to shut down the middle push from Jagdsauce, which basically deterred Jagdsauce from pushing those weaker points in the center for the rest of the game, and therefore allowed Mystical to hold on to those positions with minimal investment, which was really good for Mystical, even though he was at a deficit. The M5 gun moving to that position that I mentioned did find the kills onto the Panzer IIIs and the Stalin, so managed to basically identify that position eventually and find those kills. I think there was potential for the M5 gun to find the kill onto the Stalin earlier, but he got the job done nonetheless. So as soon as that's gone, it's the biggest threat that he's got to deal with, and it leaves Jagdsauce in a very tough position. That Stalin, otherwise, it did okay. It managed to probably just about pay itself off. This Pak 40, however, 3 M4A176 kills, very nice indeed. The Ju-87s getting the multi-kills. This was the triple kill, and then that 1 strike onto the M10. This one finding a double kill, and then another singular M10. Pack 43 did okay. That absolutely beat some engineers into the dust, and some Pack 40 or P47 going down there as well. Then the Panzer IV-Gs at the end, taking on these M4A 375s. I thought that would be a bit more favoured in the M4A 375, but the crits, I think, fell in favour of the Panzer IV-Gs, and that Panzer IV-G initially one-shotting one of the M4A3s was pretty important in that engagement, but nonetheless didn't matter because Mystical held the flags. He found himself victory, and that's going to be 1-1 in the series between Jagdsauce and Mystical in the Vulcan Arena. That's it from me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.